Alright, hi everyone, welcome back to the next video for nutrition in humans. I know this is a very big chapter, so there's really a lot of videos and it might be very tiring. Okay, so for this particular lesson, okay, we're actually going to delve into what we didn't manage to cover the last part, which is what actually happens after food is digested. So the next process that happens after digestion is actually what I call absorption. So how exactly are nutrients absorbed? Okay, the small intestine is actually the main site of absorption of all digested nutrients. So most of the digested nutrients will actually flow through the entire alimentary canal, and eventually at the small intestine, right, that's when absorption happens. Now, absorption, to describe it, is as good as explaining what happens if you spill a cup of water. Naturally, the process is to take a piece of cloth or paper towel to soak up the entire water or the drink that you see over here. So likewise, in absorption process, what we are trying to do is to absorb and take in as much as nutrients as possible. And where do we take it into? We take it into the blood. So how is the small intestine adapted for absorption? There's actually a few special features of the small intestine. Number one is long. Being long actually allows the small intestine to provide sufficient time for absorption to happen, which means that the food wouldn't pass through the entire small intestine very quickly, so allowing the nutrients to be absorbed slowly. Okay, and the second one is what we mentioned in the earlier chapter, which is that the small intestine is actually a structure that has an inner wall with a lot of multiple folds, numerous folds, which consists of what we call villi, and then it comprises of what we call microvilli. And this actually helps to increase the total surface area to volume ratio so that it can absorb as much nutrients as possible. So if you look in the small intestine, right, you realize that it's not really a smooth surface. There's a lot of tiny bumps, as you can see over here in this diagram, and there's a lot of foldings that you see over here. The purpose is to increase the entire surface area to volume ratio. So how are nutrients actually absorbed? So this is to give you an example. In this entire small intestine structure, right, you realize that there's a lot of folding. Okay. On this folding, if you zoom in into it, you realize that there's a lot more even smaller foldings. Each of these foldings is what I call a villus. If you zoom in the villus, this is a structure that you are very used to. But if you zoom in into one of the cells that's found on the wall of the villus, you realize that there's even smaller substance called microvilli. And that's how the small intestine, even though it's just within our body, right, it actually has such a large surface area for the absorption of nutrients. So now let's take a look at a video of how small intestine actually increases the total surface area that it has.
Bloodstream. The small intestine has a very large surface area as it's covered by very small finger-like villi which stick out to give the surface area. These are very thin, just about 1 cell thick, to allow nutrients to pass through them into the bloodstream quickly. Excess water is absorbed back into the body in the large intestine.
As you can see in the video, you realize that there's a lot of tiny structures which are called the villus, and the even smaller ones are what I call the microvilli, which helps the absorption of nutrients within the small intestine by increasing the surface area to volume ratio. If this seems a bit abstract to you, don't worry, actually this is what we actually use at home. Now, if you have towels at home, right, or carpets, you'll realize that those that have a lot of tiny hairs on it is actually a lot better at absorbing moisture or water than those that is just flat in the surface. Now, the third adaptation of a small intestine is that the villi actually has a very thin wall. Now, how thin is it? This wall of the villi, which I'm showing you over here as I annotate, okay, this entire wall structures here is actually only 1 cell thick. Okay, if you have remember what you learned previously, cell is very small. So if I tell you that this entire wall is only the thickness of 1 cell, that means it's super thin, because it allows nutrients to pass through the bloodstream, into the bloodstream very easily. Inside the villus, you realize that there's this red color vessel. This is actually the blood capillaries. Okay, the red and the blue ones. So basically, they are where the blood enters in the villus and eventually exits. So the nutrient eventually enter into and diffuse across this thin wall into the blood vessels itself. In addition to that, there's also many capillaries within the entire small intestine, and the purpose of this is to help make sure that nutrients, once it's absorbed, right, it gets bring away very quickly, so that there's always a concentration gradient for that to happen. Now, if you zoom in and try to study how each villus functions, you realize that each villus contains 2 types of capillaries. The one is what I mentioned just now, what I call the blood capillaries network, which is represented by the red line and connected to the blue lines. It's the one that actually helps to transport amino acid and glucose. The other one in the middle that you can see over here, the yellow structure, is what I call the lacteal or lymphatic capillary. The purpose is to actually help to transport fats to the body. So you realize that the different capillaries actually have a different target that is they are trying to absorb in and transfer. So how exactly does nutrients absorb into the small intestine? The first main process is diffusion. Because of diffusion, glucose and amino acids, which are small enough, very small molecules, can actually enter or diffuse into the blood capillaries. Like what I mentioned to you just now, imagine there's a lot of small nutrients around. What happens is that they will actually be able to diffuse across this thin wall and enter into the blood capillary. And that's how the main mode of absorption should happen, through diffusion. Because after digestion, there will be a lot of small nutrients inside the small intestine which are waiting to be absorbed into the bloodstream. The other process also involves for diffusion of glycerol and fatty acids into the lactic acid capillary. Okay, the other movement that might be quite crucial as well is active transport. Now, active transport can also be used for glucose and amino acids to be transported into the blood capillaries. If you want to recall a bit about active transport, basically is the movement of substances instead of from a higher concentration to a low concentration, the movement of substances against a concentration gradient. Right? So that is what's the meaning of active transport. Alright, but do take note that mainly diffusion will be the one, because in the small intestine there will be a lot of nutrients there, so they can just diffuse into the bloodstream. Some of the common misconceptions is that some students think that only nutrients are absorbed in the small intestine, but this is wrong, because water and mineral salts are also absorbed in the small intestine. In fact, like what I mentioned previously, small intestine actually absorbs most of the water and mineral salts. Second misconception, large intestine is the one that absorbs all the water that enters. But like what I mentioned, small intestine actually absorbs most of the water, almost 80% of it that enters the alimentary canal. So in this particular chapter, you have already learned about how the small intestine allows for the absorption process to happen. Okay, and in the previous few videos, we have learned about how digestion actually happens. So we have already cleared from ingestion to digestion, which consists of a lot of enzymes that we must remember. And now we are talking about absorption. Now, just some of the things to take note of, just to tidy up whatever we have learned. In digestion, there's also a lot of process that we learn about in the mouth, the stomach, as well as in the small intestine. Okay, we learn about what exactly are the enzymes involved, so on and so forth, the substrates and products. In absorption itself, we learn about the 4 adaptations of small intestine. That's what we learn about. And we also learn about how nutrients enter the bloodstream or enters the capillary. Okay, so it can be by diffusion for certain nutrients, or it can be by active transport, so on and so forth. Okay, so that's what we learned so far. So it seems like we have done the chapter, but the bad news is, what happens to the absorbed food substances? Alright, and this is something that we explore in the next particular video. Where we talk about after we absorb in the bloodstream, there must be something that happens. Okay, and with that, we end this particular video. Alright, thanks. See you guys.